Into this fall, like, what do you feel like our strengths of this team?
Our strengths?
Yeah.
I think our O-line. We're probably deeper than we've ever been there. O-lines, we've had great players in the past, but an O-line ain't about one great individual. It's about, 5 of them working together. And I feel like we've got about 8 to 10 that can really play on Friday nights. An H-back that's as good as our linemen in the blocking schemes. So I'm excited about that, because that O-line, one thing we've got to work on this year is chemistry. New starters everywhere almost. But when you can control the line of scrimmage, it gives you a little grace and developing chemistry in the pass games and things like that. So I think the O-line, D-line, a lot of those guys go both ways, is going to be a big plus for the Mavs this year.
Yeah, man, it's got to give you a comfort level to know you have that kind of depth on a piece of the offense. It's so physical, and injuries can happen in a long season as well.
It is. And we got some guys that I think are upper level on that line too. I mean, my starting 5 should be really good. Now they got to go earn it, and they're excited about getting to earn it and all those type things. But if they develop the way they could, it could be one of the better O-lines we put on the field, and that makes life easier for all my skill guys, and it definitely makes it easier to call plays.
In terms of offense, take me through the offense outside of the offensive line, just kind of standout guys that y'all are seeing at this point.
Obviously Landon Hensley, quarterback, he's come in and done a great job. Just a hard worker, good kid, deadly accurate, still some chemistry to get involved in the playbook and things like that. You don't get that overnight. It takes thousands and thousands of reps, and we're in that process. And he's a cerebral kid, so he gets better every day. But that may be back half of the season where you really want to be. Mm-hmm. Not that you're not excited about where you are, but where you got to be to play with Greenville and some of them guys. There's just small margin for error in those type games. Waylon LaRue at tailback, he's a 4.4 40 kid. Mm-hmm. He can legitimately fly. And compare that with the O-line, if we get him a seam, that thing's going the distance. Mm-hmm. So definitely excited about that. Backup Cody Miller, he's more of a traditional Anderson County downhill ground and pound guy. So between the two of them, we feel like we kind of replace Nick with that as far as being a holistic approach. Nick could give you both in one. Mm-hmm. But we've got one that's faster, more outside, and one more downhill now. Both of them catch the ball well, and we can use them in a pass game. So definitely excited about those guys. Israel Smalls at our X right now I think he's as good of a football player as there is in East Tennessee. I think he may be the top safety in Tennessee, in my opinion. But he's playing receiver for us this year too, so we expect big things out of him. Trent Strinkle was an All-State guy last year in the slot. He's just getting better and better. But we've got really 10 guys playing those receiver slots, and one's as good as the next. One's got one thing a little better than the others, and obviously the starters are in there for a reason, but we go at least 2 deep at each of those slots, and that's some depth that's going to help us too. So if we were to sustain an injury or need a break or those things, there's guys that are going to be able to step in and play at the same level. And then defensively, kind of mirroring that OL, the DL is going to be a strong suit. But Taylor Davis, pressuring the quarterback, he's one of the better players in Tennessee. Just got an abnormal motor, physical kid. And then Luke Carroll come in, and he's very similar to Taylor Davis. High motor, very physical, very fast. Those guys playing on that DL, I think, could cause problems for people. And then Ty Murphy and Eli Dorton on the inside, and those are all OL guys too. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are some big kids with good hands, good feet, great work ethic, and a high football IQ. So, the front on both sides we're really excited about.
Going back to something you talked about with Landon and kind of getting him up to speed and when that happens, I mean, y'all gone through that before with Isaiah, and what did you learn about that maybe you're kind of applying with Landon?
Unfortunately, I've done this for a long time now. So you kind of know there's a process. Even if I had one guy for 4 years, there's a process of throwing the ball. There's going to be mistakes. You can't panic. You got to go through the process. And the more you do, the less the mistakes happen and this and that. When you get a kid in 1 year, you're expediting that process, and you got to get people speaking the same language so they understand, so we can communicate, and then get them in there and go through the bad times to get them comfortable and get them confident. And then the thing is, where we are now is, hey, you're getting close to the season. We've thrown a whole playbook at him. We got to cut it back to where he is comfortable, and that's what we got to go play with and build out from there. So with that process, we learned it last year with Zay, maybe a little later than we wanted. We maybe took too much into game 1. Now, he could handle that by game 10, but we should have started slower and built up from there. So I think that's probably what we've learned from that. We'll start with what we know 100% Landon's comfortable with, and then build up from there.
The skill guys that you named on offense, will they double on secondary duties as well? Or?
Yes, they will. And so Izzy Small is, again, one of the better safeties. Trent Strickland's a drop-down safety. But my receivers are playing corners and safety slots too. The good there is if I've got like Waylon, my tailback, he plays corner, but those other guys that are playing receiver, they play corner too. So it provides some depth as far as rest, and those are some things we've got to mitigate. We don't quite have the depth to be a 2-platoon program like a lot of your bigger 5As and 6As. So for the most part, we'll play kids both ways, but we've got the depth where if we do a good job as coaches, we can get them breaks for 3-4 plays. If a series gets long, we can get people in and out and get them breaks and those type of things. So if Waylon just ran an 80-yard run, he's not going in the corner. Yeah. Same thing for Izzy. If Izzy just finished a 10-play drive at safety, he's not going in at X. And the guy behind him, E.J. Johnson, we feel really good about too. So we don't feel like we lose much when we have to do those rotations. Is probably the best thing we got going there.